Hi, everybody. Today we're going to talk about the content of visual literacy. And we've learned that different objects represent different ideas. For instance, a horse represents power. Well, you could have horsepower, like in a car, or you could have a kingly power, or you could have the power of something beautiful, or the power of creativity, or the power of seduction. There's a lot of different types of power. So as we're looking to kind of improve our visual literacy, what I wanted to do was to take one idea or one title even and show you a lot of different ways that the artists have interpreted it. Now, media, M-E-D-I-A, is the plural of medium, like large, medium, small. Except in this case, medium is what the art is made out of, like an oil painting is made out of oil paint. Sometimes an artist will choose a specific medium in order to convey a feeling more. So what I wanted to do was take a look at different kisses. And at the end of this brief talk, you're going to then see some kisses I'm going to ask you to discuss on your own. So the first one that you see on the screen here is by Rodin. And in this kiss in the 1800s, the late 1800s, it was pretty scandalous to have a woman look like she was lustful, to have any sexual desire. This was a time when, ladies had lace up their necks and you didn't show your ankle and everything was covered up. And here this woman is clearly in a whirlwind romance. The problem is that that is not her boyfriend, which certainly wouldn't have been shown during this time period. And it's not her husband, it's her husband's brother. And this is from a story in Dante's Inferno, where this woman is in love with her husband's brother, and they've resisted it up till now. And this is the fatal micro little second before they actually kiss for the first time deeply. And so it's that moment before the kiss that will send them to hell. And so in this piece is made out of stone. Well, you think of hell as being something eternal, right? And so you have stone. Well, it's marble, and when my cursor shows up on your screen, I want you to imagine that it's actually a block of marble, because if you were to carve into this marble, you would first, for instance, have to carve part of his calf and his knee before you carved her knee or anything else. And you would have had to have carved his leg and her leg before carving, for instance, his shoulder. One of the first things on the other side, on the side of the woman, he would have had to have carved the knuckle before taking the marble down far enough to hit the flesh. Now, Rodin purposefully used his chisel on the base to really rough up the stone to make it seem like this is a real tumultuous, he's just pounding on the chisel on that stone. But also the roughness of the stone makes the marble look even more skin-like. And so in order to get the lover's skin to look believable, like there really are two people there, not a chunk of stone, he roughened up the stone to make that flesh look softer. In addition, if you look at the man's hand on the woman's thigh, the flesh is dimpled as though he's really pressing into flesh, and he's drawing her near, and so he carved the marble intentionally to look like the flesh was yielding to his touch. When you look at the legs, I'd like for you to see how they're all kind of connected to each other. It's almost like they're lying in bed and they don't know whose legs are whose. Well, imagine walking around the sculpture, because this is a 3D, much larger than life-size piece. And what happens would be, if you walked around it, if you started at the feet and came up, as you walked around, you'd see the man's thigh and his butt, and then you'd come around to her butt, and then his hand, and then going around, you'd probably see his shoulders, and then you would see her arms coming up, going around his neck, and then you would see the top of her shoulders coming into the kiss. And as you walked around, you would feel this kind of whirlwind velocity, this whirlwind romance that's culminating in this instant before a kiss. So the composition uses a lot of whirlwind kind of shapes in 3D in order to have that moment before the kiss. Now, this guy, Brancusi, was a student of Rodin's, and they had a falling out, as teachers and students are supposed to if you're going to get anywhere in life. And so Brancusi made several of these kisses. Now, both of these are statues. They're both made out of marble. They're both about a kiss. The first one is about how a kiss feels, but I think this one is a kiss about the relationship. Now, Brancusi made several types of these, so you may see different variations in them, but this is a very square composition. And so something square is very solid, like if you have a square meal, or you have a be there, be square. You know, you have a friend that's a little square, well, they're solid, right? And so they have a solid relationship. When you look at their faces, you can see that they see eye to eye. They see with one eye. And it's funny that in Rodin's sculpture, the one we just saw, that this kiss is like a whirlwind and they're barely touching lips. Here they're sucking each other's face, and it's not sexy at all. It's like this lingering kiss, and the people look like they've been together for so long. You know, those couples that start to look like each other. Their arms form an equal sign on either with both of them, so it's as though they're equal in the relationship. You can still tell the female from the male, but they're entwined with each other. There's a variation where on the backs of their heads, their arms are up like this, as though they're in prayer, where their hands meet, which is also very sweet. Well, then we have this type of a kiss. Now, all of these people, you'll notice the dates are very similar, and they all knew each other. So Gustav Klimt, he has gold leaf in the background of this painting, and you can see that the man and woman are enveloped in this kind of glittering feel. And so the idea here is that if you look at the woman, she's all flowers. She's very feminine. There's a lot of round shapes and circles, and she looks like she's swooning a bit. She's fallen to her knees. And on his side, as though it's a cloak, there's black and white and gray, and they're rectangles, and it's a fairly masculine idea to have rectangles and black and white and gray. And so it looks like they're almost cocooning. And this kind of feels like the beginning of love, when everything seems, beautiful and bright, and you're so happy because this person is in your life. So this kiss feels like a new couple, and this kiss feels like a couple that's been there for a while. Toulouse-Lautrec, some of you may know his name. He's a famous post-impressionist, and Henri Toulouse-Lautrec, when he was a child, he was in a horseback riding accident. His family was very wealthy. His father was a banker. Well, he broke his leg several times, and they never grew back right. Well, in the late 1800s, early 1900s, if you were crippled, then you were an outcast from society. You were just like not included in society. Well, Henri had been given some paints by his mother as he was growing up, and he was in bed a lot because he couldn't walk because of his broken legs. And so he became an artist. And since he was a dwarf with a lot of money, his chest was normal size. So since he was disabled, I should say more correctly, he used to hang out in bordellos or whorehouses. And the prostitutes loved him because they were kind of societal outcasts too. And so he drew them all the time. They were very comfortable with each other. And so this is two lesbians kissing, and you can see that their arms are around each other, very much like the Brancusi kiss, except for here, their arms make more of a heart shape. And so when you look at the overall composition of the women, there's a heart shape. Also, attention is brought to the embrace of the women by the diagonals on the sheets. If you look at where the sheet lines are, all the diagonals kind of lead your eye in to the embrace more than the kiss. Whenever I have diagonals that are doing anything in an image, they're pointing you to a specific place. So this is about their embrace. This one by Chagall. Chagall believed that we were rational and logical all the time, and that art was a place to escape and have a dreamlike experience, that art gave you a place to be dreamy. So he was painting in his studio one day, and this woman who appears in this painting, The Birthday Kiss, had been modeling for him, his girlfriend. And when you model, you have to sit very still, and you don't move your eyes, and your shoulders hurt, and da, da, da. And she was getting kind of pissed because it was her birthday and she's modeling and he hadn't said a word. And so finally he kind of like wipes off his brush and it's like, okay, let's take a break. And there's a knock at the door, and he has had fresh flowers and pastries and cakes and everything delivered for this wonderful birthday lunch. And she's just delighted and surprised, and she gives him this kiss that just sends him head over heels, because in the moment it was just such a great, authentic kiss. So what you see in this picture is this kiss that kind of makes him flip for her, literally in the painting. Circles represent harmony and domesticity, like the wedding circle, the wedding ring, a hug, the circle of life. And so when you have circles, they seem very nurturing and loving, like a hug. And so I like this painting because on one side of the painting that she's headed to, the flowers around are circles, the bench is a circle, the little pastries and cakes are circles. And so she has this kind of domestic bliss in front of her, and even her collar has little half circles on it. He, however, has, just flipped, and his legs are pointing to the bed, and the bed is all wiggly lines. And I mean, the bedspread has wiggly lines on it, and whatever they've hung up behind the bed, the wall tapestry has wiggly lines on it, and then more wiggly lines on the wall, and even the floor gets wiggly. So he's gotten wiggly in the knees, but he's pointing toward, his legs are pointing towards the bed. So I wonder what he's thinking after that kiss. This one, what do you think about this one now? I would use the word enigmatic, like you're not sure, it leaves questions, it's kind of mysterious. And in my other classes, we were talking that maybe this is like when you think you know somebody when you love them, but you don't. Maybe this is people who have lived together for so long that they no longer even, they're kind of absent. They don't see each other. Maybe it's love is blind. And so you're kissing this person and you don't really see who they are. So this is Magritte, and he called it The Lovers. So, I joked it might be like a Tinder date. You go out and you don't even know this person. Talk about a blind date. Okay, here's your assignment next. I want you to look at the remaining kisses, and I'll say just one or two things about them. And you're going to go to the assignment and have a discussion about these kisses. Now, you can say how you feel about them, but what I want you to do is figure out what they did in the artwork to make you feel that way. Okay, so we've been talking about how some of these other pieces, like interpreting the shapes or the lines, or interpreting the medium, for instance, stone. If you have a kiss that's carved in stone, it seems pretty eternal. All right, so on this one, I'll help you out with this a little. Even though Picasso is very famous, and justly so, I really think this is a gross drawing, and I chose it on purpose because it looks like they're just kind of like licking each other, like it looks really biological and sloppy. And you know, you can see up their noses and their, I don't know, their tongues are all in each other's face, and it should be sensuous, but they look like they're, I don't know, there's something really wrong there, right? And so I might say that he really distorted what a kiss would be, or by focusing on the tongues, by making it so dark there, that's all you see is the tongues, and you don't get a sense that they really even feel anything for each other. So when you're looking at them, for instance, I'll give you some clues. This is a digital kiss. So the person did this digitally, but then it kind of looks like a web. And then you can think of the colors, and then you can think that it's digital and intimate. And then this guy's name is Alex Grey. Now, everybody on this page is famous enough so that you could look some stuff up about them if you wanted to find out more. He's a professor, or was a professor up in New York, and he does a lot of acid and does raves, and is very open about it in his work as a hallucinogenic and theogenic drug. So here you have a kiss that's just as biological as the Picasso, but it seems somehow sacred or amazing. So you can compare the two, like this kiss and another kiss in your discussions. I notice that there's an infinity symbol joining the two people. So you could compare, for instance, Alex Grey's flesh and bone to stone. I intentionally chose some pieces that were either difficult to understand or challenge stereotypes about kisses. And so this is a South African artist, and these are actual people who were in the gallery for the duration of the show. And you can read more about Tracy Rose's work if you choose to talk about this one online, especially with South Africa, right? So this one is by Mark Quinn, and it's also out of marble. And the woman is a thalidomide, what they used to call a thalidomide baby. Women who took drugs during their pregnancy would give birth to deformed infants who had, for instance, just very short stubs for arms or had deformed legs. And so these were birth defects. And this shows two people with birth defects, kissing. Well, it's in stone. They're two people embracing just like they're Rodin. Do we have a different viewpoint of it? And, if you're honest with each other, do you find it kind of startling, or does it make you uneasy, or are you curious about looking closer? Or, we talk about diversity, but then we don't always see diversity in art. Recently in England, Mark Quinn had his work up where they had taken down a statue of a slave trader that was in London, and they put up a Mark Quinn statue of a black woman with her fist up. It came down 24 hours later, but if you read about that during the recent Black Lives Matter protest, especially in London, he was the artist that contributed to that. This is a piece that's on the Berlin Wall, and if you're a history buff, you'll especially maybe enjoy and appreciate this kiss. And so I included a link for you so that you could get filled in on that one. So as you look at these types of kisses, and I looked at a diverse type of kiss, you might also want to think about, okay, well, what types of kisses are there? I mean, there's the kiss of death, there's a tender kiss, there's a mother's kiss. You are welcome to find other artworks of kisses, but I would just ask that they are from artists that have a track record with exhibiting their art, that they're fairly well-known artists, artists that are in museums, so that if somebody becomes interested in their art, it's easy for them to investigate it online. So in your discussions about these kisses, you can refer to other artwork that you've seen or post other artwork that you've seen. So I'm going to let you get to the discussions there, and I hope you enjoy looking at the by the way, I wanted to give you one last little reminder. When you go through your modules, or you can go through pages, let me show you something to keep up with. We're about ready to go into some stuff that has a lot of vocab on it. Sorry, it's not working, of course. We're about ready to go into an area that has a lot of vocab on it. Up till now, there are some images and ideas you need to know for your final test. And I have that in, don't I have that for you guys? Sorry about that, guys. If I don't, I will add it. You should, at the bottom of all your pages, have a test material that you're going to have. And so I'm going to enable, right now your talk about kisses, that just got enabled. I'll come back to that. Oh, here we go, the visual literacy test review. I knew I had it for you. I update this throughout the semester, but you'll notice that these kisses that I just talked about are on this test review. Now, these people are so famous that you should know their names. And so for the test, you need to know the artist, title, approximate date, which I've given you, and be able to say something intelligent, say something that shows that you've got visual literacy for them. Okay, now this test has not happened yet. This test will have additional things that are added to it. As you can see, some of these things don't make any sense to you. However, this is the beginning of the test you'll have. So when you talk about these kisses, try to really remember them or do flashcards on them. All right? Okay, hope that helps you. Bye-bye. Go to discussions. Bye.